follow my channel, you know that I recently reviewed the Microsoft Surface Pro 7, an update to one of my favorite 2-in-1s of all time, the Surface Pro 6. But it was a safe upgrade from Microsoft, nothing revolutionary here, just a minor update in a lot of ways. However, I did have my eye on something else Microsoft announced about a month ago. It's the Microsoft Surface Pro X, and I couldn't wait to get it into the studio to put it through its paces. Not only does it have a bigger display, it has slimmer bezels, it's running on an ARM processor, has always-on connected LTE, and has a new type cover with a slim pen. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is my review of the all-new Microsoft Surface Pro X. Coming up. Like these type of videos? Well, why not hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit that notification bell and check the box that gives you all the notifications. Now, of course, YouTube is not reliable and does not serve my videos to all my subscribers. Having said that, make sure you follow me on social media, especially Twitter and Instagram. I'll let you know when I post videos on those platforms as well. And of course, in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, I'm not being paid by Microsoft, I'm not being sponsored by Microsoft. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own, and no one is seeing this video before its release. Now, this unit was purchased with my own money. I did not receive a review unit from Microsoft. And with that out of the way, let's find out what you get inside the box. Let's open it up. Lifting the lid, you're greeted by the unit itself. We'll get to that in just a moment. But you also get some documentation as well as a SIM ejector tool. You also get your extension cord and a 65-watt power adapter that uses Microsoft's own Surface connector. And of course, you get the unit itself. Now, holding the unit for the first time, I gotta say I love that matte black finish, although it is a major fingerprint magnet. It's very thin, very light, and very sharp looking. And I highly recommend you get the Surface Pro X keyboard and the Surface Slim Pen. Now, don't buy them separately. There is a combination or a bundled deal that gives you a little bit of a savings, but not much. And to me, this is a no-brainer, especially if you want to get productivity work done. And it's very similar to the signature type cover that we just took a look at with the Surface Pro 7. It has that same Alcantara finish, which I really do like. Now, the big difference, of course, is that these are not interchangeable keyboards and that this one has a place to store the pen. And not only that, it will charge a pen as well. Now, speaking of that slim pen, it's the same pen technology as the Surface Pen. It's just in a slimmer form factor and a more flat look to it. Now, the port selection and layout is different than the Surface Pro 7. On the left side, you have your volume rocker up and down and 2 USB-C ports. Now, these are not Thunderbolt 3 ports, but of course, they do support data charge and display out. Moving over to the right side, you have your Surface connector to charge the device and the power button. And lifting the kickstand will reveal something new to the Surface line. This is the first Surface device that will have user-replaceable SSD. Now, the size of the SSD is a little bit unusual, but it is user replaceable, and that's a welcome addition. Now, next to that is where the LTE SIM will go. Now, I use it with my Verizon SIM, and it worked perfectly. And on the bottom are the connectors for the type cover. Now, the magnetic connection is strong, but not quite as strong as the Surface Pro 7 with its type cover. And I love the fact that you can now store and charge the pen in the keyboard, and the pen lights up letting you know that it's charging. I think it's a clever design. And I especially like the fact that when the keyboard is on its angle, it hides the pen. I think that's another clever design as well. And speaking of that keyboard, I actually thought it was pretty good tactile feedback, very comfortable to type on for extended periods of time. And I love the fact that it has the multi-stage backlight, allowing you to get work done in a dark room or a dimly lit environment. That's always good. And it has a glass trackpad, worked really well, really responsive. It's a precision touchpad, of course, and that means the 2-finger scrolling is going to be buttery smooth, and it is. And I like the fact that all the Windows 10 gestures worked really well. Okay, let's talk about the display. I'm really happy with it. It's a 13-inch pixel sense display with a resolution of 2880 by 1920. That's 267 pixels per inch, and it has a 3:2 aspect ratio, just like the Surface Pro 7, and to me, the best blend between getting work done for productivity and consuming media, such as watching Netflix and YouTube and the like. Now, the software that I normally use to measure the brightness, to check out the color accuracy, the color gamut, doesn't work with this device. We'll get into the reason why in just a little bit. But having said that, this is a very bright display. Now, Microsoft claims it will get up to 450 nits in terms of brightness. I think they're pretty close. So this is a very bright, sharp display. You also get some pretty deep blacks, some very vibrant colors, and it seems to cover the color gamut really well. Again, I can't give you the exact numbers, but judging from my experience, this is an excellent Pixel Sense display. I think they did a great job. And I love the bezels on the Surface Pro X, much more slimmed down than the Surface Pro 7. And that's one of the biggest complaints that people have with the Surface Pro 7. Its rather dated look with its rather thick bezels. This to me is what the Surface Pro 7's display should have been, 13 inches with slim bezels. Unfortunately, they didn't go with it on the Surface Pro 7. And here's a side-by-side comparison between the Surface Pro X and the Surface Pro 7. No comparison in my opinion. The Surface Pro X definitely has a better look. And as you can see, the Surface Pro X is a much slimmer device than the Surface Pro 7. And as far as that Surface Slim Pen is concerned, it worked really well. Great for sketching out artwork, great for taking notes in a meeting or in a classroom. It did the job. I love the fact that you can store it on the keyboard. Really good, especially if you're worried about losing it. This is a good solution. I also like the fact that it is rechargeable, so you don't have to worry about getting any quadruple A batteries, which are sometimes hard to find and can get expensive over the long haul. And yes, for those wondering, you can use it with the Surface Pen. Everything worked really well. Great for sketching out artwork, great for taking notes. Well, so far you're probably saying to yourself, well, this is a great device so far. Really beautiful display, really thin bezels, excellent look with that matte black finish. Okay, so what's the catch? Well, it's the ARM processor. Now, Microsoft teamed up with Qualcomm to develop its own chip, and I have to say, it's not bad if you're doing Microsoft Office, if you're doing email, web browsing, sticking to the Windows Store apps. It worked perfectly fine. It's actually really good. And here's the thing. It's not that it's a bad processor. It actually works really well. Certain games, if you can get them to play, really played well. The Windows Store games certainly worked well, but again, not all of them. Now, one application which is a must-have for me is the Chrome web browser. It's going to run in emulation mode, and it's not too bad, although if you really tax it, if you open too many tabs, you will notice a slowdown. And when you compare it to the Microsoft Surface Pro 7, which has the Core i5 processor, it's a huge difference in terms of the speed, load time, and just overall snappiness. But then again, if you're the road warrior, you need something that will do Microsoft Office, email, web browsing. This will definitely get the job done. It'll also give you pretty good battery life. And speaking of battery life, Microsoft claims you'll get up to 15 hours of mixed use. I actually got 10 hours and 46 minutes on my continuous web surfing test over Wi-Fi at 150 nits. That means this is definitely an all-day battery device, so that's good. Now, as far as charging is concerned, it does have a 65-watt power adapter included in the box, and it takes less than 2 hours to give you a full charge, and that's pretty good as well. And it can't be understated that having always-on connected LTE has been a real boon, especially for getting productivity work done. It's great to take it to a cafe, great to take it to a coffee shop, where you always have a connection, not having to worry about using a public Wi-Fi that are less secure, and it's a tremendous boost to my production. I really do like it. But to me, where this device really shines is when you're consuming media. Watching Netflix and YouTube are simply superb on this. That's thanks to that 13-inch Pixel Sense display. And the speakers on this are actually better than the speakers on the Surface Pro 7, which are actually really good in their own right. Now, I'm going to show you a side-by-side comparison to give you the difference between the two. My channel, you know I love the 2-in-1 category, and at the forefront, of course, is Microsoft and its Surface line. I was fortunate enough to check out the Surface Pro 6 last year, and it was one of my favorite 2-in-1s of all time, for good reason. Like these type of videos? Well, why not hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit that notification bell? Watch my my channel, you know I love the 2-in-1 category, and at the forefront, of course, is Microsoft and its Surface line. I was fortunate enough to check out the Surface Pro 6 last year, and it was one of my favorite 2-in-1s of all time, for good reason. Like these type of videos? Well, why not hit that subscribe button? Make sure you hit that notification bell and check the box. So this is the front-facing camera on the all-new Microsoft Surface Pro X, and I have to say this 1080p 30 frames per second camera is very good. Now the rear-facing camera is really good. I'm not going to show you any examples right now, but I have to tell you some of the best 2-in-1 cameras on this, as well as on the Surface Pro 7. This is also very good. It's good for Skype. It's good for video conferencing. I'm curious to know what you think. Let me know in the comment section below. So to wrap it all up, can I recommend the all-new Microsoft Surface Pro X? Did Microsoft hit it out of the park? And the answer is, it depends. And the reason I say that is, it depends what your expectations of this device are and who this is targeted to. If you're someone who does video editing, processor-intensive tasks, or who needs specialized 64-bit software, stay away from this device. It's not for you. Take a look at the Surface Pro 7. But if you're someone who needs it for Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, consuming media, this is an excellent choice, especially with its thin and light design, its slimmer bezels, larger display, and always-on connected LTE. Now there are some problems with that ARM processor, so keep that in mind. Not all the apps will run, and it can get expensive, starting at $9.99 just for the unit itself, and then add in the keyboard and the slim pen, you're already looking at another $269, so this becomes a very expensive proposition. But having said that, there are no real deal breakers if you're in the camp like I am that needs something with good battery life, that has a larger display than the Surface Pro 7, and has LTE connection. This is your ticket. I'm going to give this a score of 88%, making the Surface Pro X worth your money. So what do you think about this bad boy, the all-new Surface Pro X? A lot of anticipation on this one, and I'm glad I got it into the studio to put it through its paces and give my review. And I have a confession before we get to my final thoughts. This has become my daily driver for the last week or so, and I'm going to continue to use it. That tells you a lot. I love its always-on connected LTE. I like its larger 13-inch display. I like its slimmed-down bezels over the Surface Pro 7. This is really the display that the Surface Pro 7 should have had, in my opinion. Now, here's the thing about the processor. Microsoft teamed up with Qualcomm. They developed the chip, and it's an ARM chip where you're running Windows. And of course, not all the apps are going to work. A lot of 64-bit apps, or in fact, pretty much of the 64-bit apps are not going to work. The 32-bit apps that have been optimized for Windows on ARM will work. Now, running Chrome will be on the emulation mode, and you will notice a slowdown here and there. But for the most part, it worked okay. Now, here's the thing. If you come into this with unrealistic expectations, if you think you're going to do video editing on this, AAA gaming, I think you're going to be disappointed. And I know you're going to be disappointed. Stay away from this device. Look at other devices. But if you're the road warrior, if you're someone who needs always-on connected LTE, wants an excellent media consumption device, outstanding speakers in terms of sound on this, which is really good, even better than the Surface Pro 7, which has great speakers in its own right, this is your ticket. And I have to say, I've been really impressed with this, despite all the negative reviews that have come out from more mainstream reviewers, mainstream publications on YouTube and so forth. I actually think this has got an audience here, and I think people are going to like it if you temper your expectations and if you're the target audience that this really is geared towards. I actually really think this is good, and I really am finding myself grabbing this more than my iPad. I'm grabbing it more than my laptop, so that tells you volumes. But of course, it's not cheap. It comes in at $1,000 to start, or $999 to be specific. You also have to add in another $269 for the keyboard and the pen, and that really becomes an expensive proposition. But having said that, if you're willing to pay the price and you want to be a little bit innovative here, this is a very forward-thinking device, and I have no hesitation recommending it if you're in that camp, and I know I am. So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment in that comment section below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's a device or something out there you think I should review. I'll do my best to try to make that happen. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course my website, amdtechreviews.com. So until next time, this is Andrew from AMD Tech. See ya. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is my review of the Microsoft blah 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 blah. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is my review of the Microsoft Surface Pro 7 or X? X. Yep.